Hi, everybody. This is James from Praagh, and welcome to Life After Death and Beyond. And I always look at that opening, and I feel like I'm in heaven. And now I really feel like I'm in heaven because my two of my best friends are on the show. Kelly White. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, James. Hi, everybody.
How are you doing? You've been traveling a lot.
I've been traveling a lot. Yes, I have been. And traveling is not what it used to be. It's very different these days.
How was your flight? Where I asked you, but I didn't never hear back.
Traveling is something, apparently, who knew, James, that I had my mother's ashes in my suitcase, and they went rifling through my mother's suitcase and her suitcase, if you will.
Did they look at the ashes?
They did. And they left me a note. It was very considerate. They left me a note. Yes. So
they left you a note.
Outside of the baggie that Mom was in. They left me a note. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a law about that transferring.
Didn't know, but I got a note. Note to self. We'll talk about that later. It's been a strange time, but other than that, everything has been good. Okay. Yeah. How about you?
Busy. Just tying old things up and getting new things going, and it's always busy. Always something going on here with me.
Yeah.
So today's show is really I've been looking forward to this. Kelly and I have been talking a lot about healing work, and I mean we do healing work at the kind of mediumship we do, and our show we did on the messages was so well received. We're going to do another one because that was such a great show we had done.
Fabulous show with great questions, everybody.
Great questions. We'll do part 2, but we want to do a show about healing, and especially the voice, by using the voice, because many years ago, I used to do workshops about the chakras and so forth, and it's very interesting. I would get to a certain point where I'd go through the chakra points and at the energetic points of the body, and the 5th chakra, the throat chakra, and it was very interesting that most people, not all of them, but many people, majority, had trouble with opening up that throat chakra, which is color blue. And it was very interesting because a lot of people go through life not having a voice, not believing in themselves, not empowering themselves. And what do you think, Kelly? What are your words with a closed throat chakra?
When people are shut down, they're shut down. They're told probably from the beginning by a parent or an authority figure that they are not to speak. Especially women were taught and children were taught, that you're not allowed to speak. Don't speak until you're spoken to. And so a lot of times you'll see, young children, they're so excited. They've got their energy, their vital life force comes up and it wants to come up and out and express, and a parent will shut it down. And when that happens, that throat chakra, doesn't forget, it goes right into low self-esteem, sadness, depression. It's everything. The throat chakra is extremely valuable. It's everything about expressing ourselves as a human on earth. This is why we come here, to express ourselves.
And as young children, like you mentioned, we get programmed from our adults. If it's like, you don't know what you're talking about.
Oh.
The child thinks I don't, then it might not worth it. I'm not worthy.
I'm not worthy. That actually comes out. That's how it plays out, is I'm not worthy.
Not worthy. So they don't speak. They don't express themselves. They have a sense of insecurity, self-awareness. And one of the ways we can do that is the voice. There are ways of activating the throat chakra. And one of the ways is by properly using the voice, learning how to use that voice, opening up that chakra point, different ways. But I did a workshop with a young man by the name of Ciarán Sheehan, and it was very strange how I met this gentleman. He was taking a course of mine at Omega Institute, and I said, "Oh, the name Ciarán." I said, "Oh," and I knew that name because my son-in-law has that name, and it's an Irish name. I said, Ciarán Sheehan, are you a bit Irish now? And he goes, "Yes, I am." And I said, "Oh, can you sing?" He goes, "What do you want?" I said, "Danny Boy." And the rest is history.
He's great.
Well, so, Ciarán Sheehan is from Ireland. He's from Dublin. Irish-born singer and actor who has appeared in several off-Broadway and Broadway theater productions. And most of you probably could have seen him already. Phantom of the Opera. He was a Phantom for 7 years on Broadway. An incredible voice. Also playing Babette, understudying for Marius. He also was in, that was in Les Miserables. Les Miserables, Phantom, Carousel. There's so many. I can't get into it because he says a lot of things. Or in repertory theaters as well. Good friend of Frank McCourt's. The Irish Now They Got That Way, The Hostage, Hannah Finian's Rainbow, and so much more. A lot of television and film. So, and also you'd never know it, but he's a lovely musical theater singer. But his passion is rock and roll. So please, everyone, enjoy me in bringing in Ciarán Sheehan.
Hey guys, how are you?
I destroyed your bio, but it's okay.
I'm pretty good at describing it myself.
Well, can you tell a story about us meeting? Because you do it much better than I do, because you have a better than me.
Yeah, absolutely. A good friend of mine, a piano player. I don't know how long-winded you want this, but she contacted me about going to see you on a weekend in New York at the Sheraton. And she said, you got to come with me. I'm going to go see James Van Praagh. And I said, who's that? And she said, he's a very famous medium. And I said, what's that? And she said, he talks to the dead. I said, have a great time. But she met you, and she called me right after the weekend. She said it was absolutely beyond brilliant, and that she had asked you to sign a couple of books for me because two things. Your father's side of the family were all Broadway people.
That's right.
And your mother's side of the family was Irish, from Cork.
That's right.
So then I was doing some concerts in Ireland, and I brought one of the books with me, and I'm reading it, and I'm like, this is absolutely fascinating. I got to meet this guy. So I contacted her and I said, listen, I'll go for that week up in Omega with you. And I got in there, and I think there were around 100 people in the room, and you were taking attendance first day, and everyone's going, I'm a psychic, I'm a tarot reader, I'm a medium, blah, 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 blah. And you got to me and you said my name, which totally threw me off, Yeah, because everyone destroys it, I mean, at Starbucks, I'm Joe. So I said, you said, well, what do you do? I said, I don't do any of this. And I said, I'm an actor and a singer. And you said, well, sing something. I said, well, what do you want to hear? And you said, When Irish Eyes Are Smiling.
Oh, okay.
And I said, I started to say, do you want the verse and the refrain? You said, just sing the song. So I said, okay. So I sang it, and then you and I were off to the races. And the funny thing is, you mentioned Frank McCourt when you introduced me. We were great pals, and he had passed the night before because his wife, his widow, Ellen, called me and said, could you come sing the memorial service on Wednesday, that week that I was with you? And I said, yeah, I'm up in Rhinebeck, but I'll see how it shakes out. But I think so, because Bill Clinton was going to speak. There were a whole bunch of people, and she wanted me to sing. And so I talked to you about it, and you said, no problem, and I came back late that afternoon, and it's, it's all history since,
And then we did a workshop together at Omega, you and I, on a weekend.
Absolutely. It was great. Great fun. Really great fun. And we've done a couple of cruises.
I've done it 2 or 3.
I was on one of them. We went to Tahiti.
Mm-hmm.
That's fun.
Great fun.
That's great. And you, you were introduced to mediumship that weekend.
Yeah.
And you started yourself being able to tune in pretty well.
So you tell me. I will say I did get.
Now, young man.
I I got something. I do remember being terrified all week because we got to a place where you were letting everyone read, and can I come to you? And but if they came to you, then you had to read. And I thought, Jesus, Mary and Joseph, don't come to me, And of course, someone did. And with something that I had totally forgotten about, he said, your grandmother's here with you. And he says, I saw you play the Phantom in Toronto, so I feel like I'm kind of cheating here, but she's talking about you playing the Phantom, and she's talking about the organ. And one of the keys on the right side of the organ was always stuck. And I hadn't thought about that in years. And I went, oh my God, yeah. But all I'm thinking is, I got to get up. And you said, get up. And I'm like, listen, I don't want to waste people's time. Why don't you just move along? And you said, get up. And I said, he said, you asked me, what are you getting? And I was like chorus line, nothing. And you said, close your eyes and just walk in a direction you feel compelled.
That's So you step before the crowd and call it a platform.
Yeah.
There's all the people in front of you. You don't know where you're going with the information. You just got to really be still, surrender yourself. And I told you to close your eyes and just walk in the direction. Is that what happened?
You did, yeah. And you said, I won't let you trip or fall over anything. Just walk. And I stopped. And you said, do you feel like you want to stop here? And I said, yeah, I think so. And I opened my eyes. It makes me cry. I opened my eyes, and there was a woman in front of me. And I had been looking at her. I mean, there was 100 people there, but I kept looking at her during the course of the few days before this. And there I am standing in front of her. So, and you said, what do you got? And I said, and suddenly I just was overwhelmed with grief. And then I saw a man standing behind her who was crippled. And the funny thing was, I said, there's a man behind you. And you said, is there something wrong with his legs? I said, yeah. You said, and then you said, look down. And my own legs were all twisted.
Wow.
And so, I remember telling her, he's angry with you because you don't enjoy life, and you feel like you have to take care of everyone else, and you took such good care of him, but he wants you to enjoy the ride more than you are, and she'd been coming to workshops and things for years, and she said she was always hoping to get her dad, and
Oh, wow.
and that was the day.
Great.
Bravo. That's amazing. I never heard that story. It's great.
No, I don't remember this story, but it happened.
Wow.
And Ciarán's very humble, obviously. But you've also been a voice teacher for how many years?
Yeah, for a long time. I mean, it's so funny. I was thinking about, the sort of the gift we have in the voice and the human connection. And what's sort of sad to me is so much of the sort of my children's generation, they're here and they're not communicating with each other. And I think it closes them off to a whole side of themselves, spiritually, energetically. I think it's just lost living on the devices.
And do you think, Ciarán, being a voice teacher, did you find when you had clients that there's some whose throat chakras are totally closed down, and or something was there, and you had to do some things just to open up the voice, just open up that space?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I did learn beyond the singing was something called IET, integrated energy therapy, and so I'll work on the throat energetically. It's also the key, the note G, or pretty close to it. That frequency and that kind of light blue, nearly kind of a Windex blue.
Yes.
It's all the same frequency, whether it's color or sound, or, intentions, and helping people open that up. And so many people.
Do you play a note? Do you play that note G? Do you have them look up blue or?
Yeah. And all of the above, and even clothing colors. Sort of my own, as you know, big part of my own journey is my survival. Yeah. Which gravely affects the second chakra, the sacral chakra, which is orange, and the note is close to D, and so for a while I was wearing a lot of orange, eating
we talked about that. Yeah.
And it's the same thing with the throat chakra, blue foods, that frequency is the same, whether it's color or food or sound. But I think you have to be willing to open that up and to release whatever shut that down. As you say, kids, they're told, be seen and not be heard. And I think as children, there's a need in us to want to survive, to be loved by the family. It's a biological drive, I suppose, in order to survive as well, and crave that love. So, if they don't want to hear me, then I'll shut down.
Well, when you were young, who opened up your throat chakra?
I was so funny. I was very blessed. My father was a handful. But when I was 4, my parents, I was living in New York. I was born in Ireland, went back and forth a lot. But when I was 4, my parents, kind of my mother, sent me to live with my grandmother in Dublin. in some ways, I think, to protect me. And I went to live with my granny, her mother, and her younger sister. And my mother's whole family is very musical. And my Aunt Christine, who I adore, she was a big fan of poetry. So a lot of it was about speaking, and opening up. And plus, you couldn't shut me up anyway. So I think that was a big part of it. Like my mother's older sister, Moira, she was on the radio in Dublin, and she was known as the girl with the golden voice. And they were all competitive singers. And then even on my father's side, my father's never sung a note in his life, but he had an older brother who was a fabulous tenor. And I think music's always a big part, at least at that time period, was a huge part of everyone's house had a piano in it. And I suppose because the television over there was terrible. So, there was one station, and so we entertained ourselves with music, and big part of the culture.
How do you take care of your voice now?
Sleep's important. I'm careful about what I eat. Sleep is huge. Sleep and water, really huge. I do find, even on 2-show days, if I take even like a 20, 30-minute nap after show, between shows, I feel so much better. I suppose, you collect a little tension during the day, and if I take a little nap, that just sort of falls away.
Well, that makes sense because you put out so much energy when you're performing.
Yeah, I will say that this is going to sound funny, but it's on stage, whether it's acting or singing, is when I feel most alive, when I feel most at one with myself and the world.
I've heard that from performers.
Yeah. I mean, because as a kid, I suppose because my parents, they sent me to live in Ireland, I felt like they didn't want me. So I felt like I didn't belong in this world.
Interesting.
So, the ability to express myself openly and open myself to whatever word you want to use, to spirit, to God, to inspiration, inspiration. That's when I feel most at one with myself and happy. So.
Have you ever had like problems with your throat, like ulcers, laryngitis, sore throats, something like that?
No, I've been very lucky with my cords. I remember I was doing Phantom. I played Ralph for a couple of years on Broadway, and then started playing the Phantom. And then I went up to Toronto to play it for a while. And the guy who's playing Piangi, he and we got along very well. And he came up to me like after a week or two of the shows, and he said, "Listen, you need to be careful. You're going to end up losing your voice." Because I would, the actor in me, which always sort of takes precedent nearly over the singer, that second layer scene, it's pretty intense, and I'm roaring, But I was always okay. I never missed a show. In fact, out of the 2 years up in Toronto nonstop, they actually asked me to take off a show so that the understudy would go on, because he hadn't been on, and they were worried if he had to go on, he'd be in a panic. So they wanted to plan him going on. So I said, sure, I'll take a show off. And I actually went to the show and helped him through the theater and that. But yeah, I never missed because of vocal problems.
Wow. This is fascinating.
And because you call yourself a singer first, then an actor, or actor singer, or a singer actor?
Well, as you sort of let the cat out of the bag, my favorite thing to sing is classic.
I know, I didn't say it yet. But no, just generally speaking, because you do a lot of television, is it acting first or singing first? What's your first love? Singing?
You know what? They're kind of one for me.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I love acting. It's such a passion for me. And if I can tell a story through singing, I think it elevates it, which was when Hal asked me to go see the Phantom of the Opera on Broadway.
That's Hal Prince. Yes.
My buddy Hal.
The Hal Prince.
The Hal Prince, who was a buddy of yours, yes.
He was very kind to me. He paid for my voice lessons when I started out.
Wow.
Yeah. He and Charlotte Moore from the Irish Rep. Because Judy Prince, Hal's widow, and Charlotte are best friends. But he asked me, he said, he said, "Have you seen Phantom?" And I said, "Yeah, I don't like musicals." Right. And he said, "Get your rear end up to the Majestic. You've got a baby at home and you could use a good job." So I went up and I saw it, and I called him that night at home. I said, "I have to play that guy. That guy's insane." So I was interested from an acting point of view. And then the use of the music, particularly in certain parts of the show, whether it's the Don, I'll make me cry.
It's okay. You can cry here.
Yeah.
Safe.
The Don Juan scene, when she pulls that mask off.
Yeah, a lot of people may not have seen the show, so you could explain it. That he wears a mask during the whole show.
Yeah, so I'm wearing the mask during the show, and I'm in love with this young singer, soprano, Christine Daae, and I've written this opera for the two of us to perform in, but I can't. I'm hidden in this sort of monk's cloak, so you don't see my head, and the scene is progressing, and the more driven I am in the scene, the less I'm able to hide my voice, because when I first come in, I'm trying to pretend that I'm the Italian opera singer in the company. And then when she, so it's like, Passarino, go away for the trap is set and waits for its prey. A little Italian sort of edge to it. But once it gets to like, past the point of no return, it starts this, the Phantom's own sort of passion for her takes over, and that's when she realizes it's him. And I've got her by the wrist, and she pulls the cloak back and rips the mask off, and it's just, it's destroying, and but so the music helps that in a way, it heightens the whole.
What was your favorite role to play? Whether it's television, movies, or theater.
Gosh, I mean, I loved playing the Phantom, and I miss the character. I miss him. I'd say then in straight plays, I would probably say Matt Burke in Eugene O'Neill's Anna Christie. The characters from the southwest of Ireland. You can tell by the speech patterns, which is where my father's from. So it's in my blood, and so that role really, really spoke to me a lot. Love playing Billy in Carousel. He's such a simple guy. I often when I see other actors playing roles like that, and you can see they're smart actors. I don't want to see that, because then I think you're manipulating. You're trying to manipulate Julie.
I want to ask you about that, Ciarán. So when you see other people, actors, do the roles you've done, it's hard not to judge them. But what in your background, you're just like, wow, they're really in it. They really got it, or they don't. They're just phoning it in. Tell us about that.
I would say that for me, as you probably see, it becomes truthful for me in the moment. It's true. It's, and that's why I say, it's when I feel most alive. I don't know what it is. I suppose in a way I open myself up to becoming fully alive in the part. So it's real for me. I'm not acting.
So you're really kind of channeling.
Yeah.
I suppose in a way, Yeah. I'm channeling whatever the author has, hopefully what the author has intended. So when I see, and God forgive me, I see this a fair bit in musical theater, that a lot of people have fabulous voices, but they're not as invested in the acting.
They don't have that emotional quotient there.
Yep.
You have it.
That's so disappointing to me, because I'm there to watch a story. I think that's what, Michael Crawford, not necessarily the best voice in the world, but he was fabulous in the role, because it was real for him, So I'd rather be a good actor than a good singer.
Excuse me for a second. You mentioned that name. I got it. And the theme of our show is healing with the voice. I knew Michael Crawford when he did Phantom in LA. And I was working with a healer friend of mine. Right. And we used to go every Saturday afternoon after his matinee, every Saturday, and do healing on his voice.
Wow.
Yeah. We used to do some healing work on him. And it
That's
was very, yeah,
That's funny
interesting.
because the Four Phantoms, the group that I'm part of, that we tour around the country. It looks like we're going over to Europe, which would be great. Our sound man Rico was when Michael was touring his own show, and with the music of Andrew Lloyd Webber, Rico was the sound man. So,
And just to throw this in, my husband Don was in that orchestra for 2 years.
Ah,
no
see,
way,
Robin.
Way.
way.
Hey, Ryan, you can throw up Kieran's information too if people want to see him there.
Please.
Because you're going around with the Four Phantoms in concert. Tell us about that a little bit.
It's a lot of fun. Sometimes too much fun, getting ourselves into trouble. It's I've been a part of it now for 8 years, and I mean,
Yes, special.
sorry.
PBS special.
Yeah, the television special has been running for the last since I think September, and it's doing pretty well. And it's a lot of fun. There's the four of us, and I think they wanted to choose different guys. Like I did it in New York and Toronto. John Cudilla did it in New York. Brent Barrett did it in Las Vegas for the whole run, and then he also did it in Germany. How he learned it in German is beyond me. And then Frank D'Ambrosio did it in San Francisco for a long time. So I think they were just trying to spread out, where guys had done the role. And then Kaylee Voorhees, I give her a hard time. I'm like, I was playing the Phantom before you were born. But she and I do a lot of concerts together, as well as her being part of the Four Phantoms, and her voice is just astonishing. She was in the show up until October 19. She got out right before the pandemic. Smart girl.
Before I go on to something else, I wanted to ask you this. People that are watching a performance of an artist, of a singer, if you will, them being in that space, would you believe that they receive healing based upon, because they're hearing the hearing of their voice, that your voice is actually sending healing without maybe the singer even knowing it, but you're actually sending healing through your voice? Because I know many performers, and I say to them, you know what, you're a healer, and you healed a lot of people tonight.
Well, yeah, I think that's just true kind of across the board. I remember I had, dropping names here, I had dinner with Deepak Chopra a number of years ago through my friend Cheryl Leach, who created Barney the Dinosaur. And he was talking about that if you do something for someone out of love, let's say you're in Penn Station and you see a guy lying on the ground and you go, this poor guy, let me give him $20. And it comes from here. It doesn't come from, oh God, get out of the way, energy. But it comes from your heart. Ugh, makes me cry. What shifts the good that he feels and the good that you feel are the exact same chemical in your body. Your body chemistry changes for both of you exact same way. And this is what I really find fascinating. Anyone who sees that happening, their body chemistry changes too. I just find that amazing. So I will say that when I'm singing with the guys, if the song, gosh, no, you know what? I'll say across the board that I'm always intending love. I'm always intending love, because I feel I mean that's one of the things about that I learned in the Meisner technique when I was studying acting, is that you need to look for the love in whatever you're doing, whether it's a play or a musical, whatever you're doing. You need to look for the love, the loss of love, the desire for love. So I was trying to stay in that space, and when I can, I intend to send it out from my chest and from my throat.
I have to say, I think your childhood helped get you where you are.
Yeah,
because it really puts you in a vulnerable place that you can tap into at any time. As we're watching in real time, you tap into the emotional place. And James, to your point, that is the most healing that anybody could receive, is watching you when you speak and you sing. It's very healing. That definitely goes out to the audience.
You know what's interesting, Kelly, is that I mean I had a very James knows my history. I had a tough childhood, and I was pretty shut down until
Mhm.
um, until I was 23 in an acting class, and I remember working on a scene. It was I'll never forget it. Barefoot in the Park, Neil Simon play, and it was a conflict scene with the character of the husband and the wife, and I felt my whole body start to light up, like my whole body was lit up, and I started to cry, and it was the first time I had cried,
Ah,
and now you can't stop me crying.
oh my gosh! But you had a real cathartic moment.
How to get
Yeah,
it
and
out.
that sort of opened me up big time.
Yes.
Big time. I am so grateful for that. You
And
know.
do you find, Kieran, that when you meet people, whether you're teaching them voice or you're acting or in the street, meeting people, that you sit there closed down and you want to kind of help open them up in whatever way you can? Do you ever find that in your
Yeah,
everyday life?
absolutely. I mean, I do remember the day that in the workshop where I went to that woman
Yeah.
whose dad had passed, and you were yelling at me. You said, "Get out of your head!" Right? You're
I
you're
don't know
an
if it
empath.
sounded like that, but
Get out of your head. Because you said to me, you said it's all in your heart.
yeah,
You know, you're an empath.
yeah.
So
Truly.
when I see people in pain, it's it's hard, and
It's
you
hard,
want
right?
to help.
It's very hard.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because you can do so much for it. And do you feel like you have to do something or say something or do something, or
Um,
what's your philosophy with that?
I try not to be intrusive, and I feel like whatever spiritual gifts we're given, I think we have to respect that. We have to respect other people's place and respect their journey, and maybe they're in your path so that you can help each other along the road. But if someone is hesitant and resistant, I don't pry, and I don't go, "You're lying, I can feel it." you know
Right, right. Yeah, it's true. And something, Kelly, did you want to ask a question? I'm sorry.
I was going to make a comment that, some people are ready to open up, some people are not ready to open up. But I think you have such a gift, Kieran, that you have this ability. It's a natural ability to be empathy and to have empathy and to hold a space for people. And that is healing, holding that space.
Yeah, when
Yeah,
you walk into a space, you feel your energy. I mean, you
You do.
demand the room, not even saying before you open your mouth.
Yeah.
You just have that energy of just commanding the room, just being there. That's been my experience with you.
Mhm.
I'll take it.
And then you open the mouth, and it's like, oh yeah, yeah,
Hey, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I was lucky enough to have dinner with the Four Phantoms, and it was at Rosie O'Grady's. We had dinner.
What was that like?
It was pretty wild. It was pretty wild.
Bunch of kooks.
How fun.
He was in his element.
Truly.
That's interesting. Yeah, right.
Well, you two have sung together, correct?
Yep.
We have sung together before,
Yeah.
and it was just an improv type thing. And but before we go to that, Kelly, I just want to mention something else. But people might not know, but they don't know, and I didn't know, and I was pretty shocked because I thought this young man was, a wonderful musical theater person, and then I found out not really. His passion is Ciarán.
Rock and roll.
Get
Rock
out.
and roll. He's a rock and roll singer.
Oh yeah, big time. That's like I love acting, and when I think musical theater, I think that's part of the acting equation.
Sure.
If you ask me what I would rather be singing, throw a Led Zeppelin tune in front of me, I'm a happy camper.
Wow, did not see that coming.
Well, how about this one? So, a friend of mine, actually a friend of that James and I both know out in LA, she called me and she said, "Guess who's playing in Las Vegas the night of your 50th birthday?" And I said, "Who?" And she said, "Judas Priest." And I said, "Oh, we're so going." We're still going. I immediately got off the phone and I called the Hard Rock in Vegas and I booked one of those luxury boxes. And so there were 12 of us, and it was Black Label Society, Tin Lizzy, and then Priest with an
Oh my
open
God.
bar.
Oh my God.
So by the time Priest came on, you know, when they opened up with Rapid Fire, and we were all like 9 margaritas in.
Did not see that coming.
Oh yeah. If you want to be frightened, just look up on YouTube Ciarán Sheehan Led Zeppelin, and you'll be.
Oh, I've seen you. I've seen you perform that. And let me ask you, does that hurt your vocal cords at
No,
all?
because
Great
I was
question.
I was never a screamer. I mean, I sang rock in high school, and then in college really got into the metal. But it was the old school metal. It was Judas Priest. It was Ronnie James Dio. It was and so it was all placed up there. You know,
Okay.
so you're not really smacking the chords with all the chest weight.
Right.
Yeah.
And did you have a daily routine for your chords? You still have a daily routine?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I'm constantly singing. Make sure it hasn't gone away.
You just practice it, the scales and so forth?
Yeah, I'm doing a concert in a few weeks. Well, actually, about 3 weeks in New York. I do this annual benefit for the Irish Repertory Theatre. So this year it's a tribute to Van Morrison. So I'm singing Into the Mystic. So I've been singing that every day.
Where is that?
It's at Town Hall on 43rd Street in the city.
Oh, I did a show there once. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. With David Blaine down the street and Hillary Clinton signing a book up the other end, and I was in the middle. Oh, yeah.
That's
Town
great.
Hall's great. Yeah.
It's a nice space, you know.
It is a nice space. It is.
So it's fun. Like, what did we do? I can't remember what we did last year, but the year before that, it was a tribute to Paul McCartney. So I did Maybe I'm Amazed, which was great fun. I got my old metal guitar player to come up and play the guitar solo on it. So it was great fun.
But besides Joan Jett, have you met other rock stars?
No. It's funny enough, I was doing a concert in Cincinnati. Gosh, this is about 15 years ago. And I got a phone call from a guy out there, promoter, said, "Hey, listen, the guys from Judas Priest are out here doing a concert this weekend, and they want to know if you want to go play golf with them." And this idiot, who's the biggest Judas Priest fan in the world, goes, "No, I don't play golf."
Oh my God.
Stupid. I should have just gone and carried their bloody bags, you know?
Exactly. I was really surprised to learn about Alice Cooper and his love of golf.
Actually, I know that because one of my best friends, a guy named Rick Hilsebeck, who played the Phantom for about 7 years, who's fabulous, very dear friend of mine. His sister dated, what's his name? His real name, Vince Favreau, Alice Cooper. And they used to go golfing together all the time. He was a rabid golfer.
Yeah. Funny.
I have a couple of questions to ask you, if you don't mind.
Yes, dear.
Well, musical theater in the future. What do you see? And what is the changes that have been made? And what you would hope to change or see in the future, because it certainly has changed quite a bit since the 60s and 50s, 70s.
Well, what's a little distressing to me is that people don't seem to be all that interested in writing melodies. You know, there's no Sondheims, there's no Rodgers and Hammersteins. There's even kind of Andrew Lloyd Webber's. You know, there's no one writing melodies anymore. And like I went to see a lovely show, Come From Away. You know, and it's a lovely story, lovely story.
Yeah.
And so I left with my wife, and she said, "That was lovely." I said, "Yeah." I said, "Hum one song for me."
Exactly.
You know, and that's sort of sad. And I don't know if it's a fear of composers of writing something melodic. It's sort of the same reason I don't like current metal. I like the old metal. You know, it's much more melodic, anthemic, operatic in a way. And the other thing is, it's kind of, you know, for a lot of, I was just talking to John Gudea, who's one of the Four Phantoms. And John was saying that he, and his wife Kathy, both fabulous voices. They met because he was playing the Phantom, she was playing Christine. There's so limited work now for legit voices that so much of the singing that's required now is kind of just this kind of nasal, belty sound. It's kind of gotten away. It's become very one-dimensional,
Well,
and I think that's
hmm.
a loss.
But Ciarán, also, when I was out there I had a musical thing I was working with, trying to get produced, and that whole thing, and
Yeah.
I kept on hitting the wall with, which is true to this day, I'm sure, that producers don't want to put the money behind something they're not sure of. So if they have a musical movie, a movie that they can do it, or an animation show, they'll do a Broadway show based on that because they know it'll bring money in. So it's all fear based because they don't want to do anything really new that would cost some money. So I think it's forcing everybody to go off Broadway, local theaters, workshopping, which
It just seems like it's all jukebox musicals now, or revivals. Like, as you know, my son Brendan, who you know very well, is doing Gypsy. The 1,000th revival of Gypsy on Broadway. And I mean, it's great for him. He's doing it at the Majestic, where I did Phantom, which is lovely. But and then put on top of that, the price of tickets is mad.
It's crazy. I mean, I thought we were going to do something to workshop it because it's the only way you can get things done that get attention maybe toward it.
Yeah, like I just checked ticket prices for decent seats in the orchestra to see Brendan in Gypsy, and $451 a ticket.
Wow.
I mean, the average guy who's a carpenter, plumber, or what, and he's got 2.5 kids, you suddenly a night out is a couple of $1,000s. It's crazy.
It's crazy. Well, I just want to. I'm going to switch you up here. So I'm going to switch you up here. Sorry, I'm planning something completely different. My brother died in January, as you both know, and I was blessed. We were all blessed with Ciarán's healing voice, and he sang a song that we had a little issue with the church, but anyway, it was a really wonderful. Not only is it great lyrics and great song, but Ciarán's voice, such a healing voice that anybody who hears that and the tone of his voice, I think it's healing. So I'm going to ask you, I'm put you right in the spot. Would you mind singing that song that you sang at the funeral?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
and that's just what you mean,
Okay.
I'll tell you a very quick story. It's from Les Mis, and which has such a big place in my heart because it was my first Broadway show, and it's also just one of my favorite shows. And let's see, 9 years ago today, I sang this at a guy's funeral, and I knew his daughters because they were altar servers. Like I'll sing at my local church when I'm around, and they were altar servers there. And when their dad died, they wanted me to sing this song, or they wanted me to sing at the funeral. And then the requests came in for what the music was, and they requested this song. And a year and a half later, I was talking to the widow in church and asking her how she was doing, and I said, "Can I bring you somewhere on Friday?" And she said, "Okay." And she said, "Where?" I said, "It's a surprise." So we pulled up to this theater in Newton, New Jersey, and it says the Little River Band. And she said, "Oh my God, we're going to see the Little River Band." I said, "No, we're not. We're going to see a friend of mine." And she met you, and we started dating a few months later, and then we got married 5 years ago. So the song is a very special place in my heart. Both for Michael and for Joe, who passed
9 years ago today. Wow, that's wild.
Yeah, because he died 9 years ago last Sunday.
Wow. So should people close their eyes, maybe?
Sure.
Yeah, everyone should just close your eyes and just listen.
That might be better because I've got to sit up a bit, and I don't know how the camera.
Okay. Just close your eyes and take a deep breath, everyone. In and out, and in and out. One more time. In and out. Okay, and just relax.
God on high, hear my prayer. you have always been there. He is young, he's afraid. Let him rest, heaven blessed. Bring him home, bring him home, bring him home. He's like the son I might have known. If God had granted me a son, the summers die one by one. How soon they fly on, and I am old and will be gone. Bring him peace, bring him joy. He is young, he is only a boy. You can take, you can give, let him be, let him live. If I die, let me die. Let him live, bring him home, bring him home, bring him home.
Wow.
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 Whoa, I could feel that in every vibration. Oh,
You feel that, Kelly?
oh, I totally feel it. And I will say this, your brother Michael loved it.
Yeah. It's just amazing.
Beautiful.
That's amazing. How do you feel after you sing that?
Well, at first I was a little worried that I picked too high a key.
And we wouldn't even know that.
Well, why? You would if I exploded. No, it was again. I was actually thinking about Michael. Ugh,
Were you?
There he goes.
Me too.
Oh, me too.
So I was thinking about Michael, and it's so funny. I knew Mike before I knew you.
Yeah, that's right. Kelly, I don't know if you knew that.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
He got around.
He got around. My brother got around.
Because the alley of the Majestic backed up to the
Royale.
the Royale and the
Oh.
Jacob. I can't remember.
Now it's a Jacobs, right?
Yeah.
Royale.
Yeah. So we all shared the same alley.
And the Golden.
Doors and yeah.
I used to run that alley when I was 7 years old. I used to walk down that alley. My father was a stage, had the stage hands there, and he used to sit me on the rail with a piece of carpet there.
Yeah.
And we watched Cactus Fly with Lauren Bacall and Lloyd Bridges. And I'll never forget that. And then Betsy Palmer took over the role, and she became good friends with me. And she said, we had this little joke with each other. And years later, when I went to college and so forth, and my brother took over my father's job, and he kept that little piece of carpet on the railing, which may be still there, I don't know. But I met Betsy later on through a friend, and she was in Studio City, California. And I knocked on her door, and she said, hello. And I said, hello, all top. We had a little joke. She goes, Jamie Van Praagh. And we became really good friends, very into metaphysics.
Yeah.
We went to mediums together. We did seances, the whole thing. So
cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Beautiful story.
Yeah.
So I knew Mike, in the mid 90s, Yeah.
When you were doing Phantom.
Yeah.
Okay, well, shall we?
Yes.
There's one. So Kira and I we did a workshop together, and we did it on the chakra system, and it covered all different the chakras. And in the end, I think you just went into this song, and we sang it together.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
want to do that?
Yeah, sure.
All right. What the heck? I'm not. I'll
Um,
follow you because you're the singer. I'm not.
Stop. You have a lovely voice.
Yeah.
It's all about the love anyway.
Yeah, and the beginning of it. I mean, there's a whole.
Yep.
Okay.
Let me see if I pick the right bloody key.
Would you please?
When all the world is a hopeless jumble, and the raindrops tumble all around, heaven opens a magic lane. When all the clouds darken up the skyway, there's a rainbow highway to be found, leading from your window pane to a place behind the sun, just a step beyond the rain. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a that I heard once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow,
skies are
blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly, birds fly over the rainbow, wise in a white canton. If happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh, and there you go, Jimmy.
You're so bad. You're throwing such a high key.
I told you, I nearly crashed.
But no. First of all, that was so fabulous. But I have to
Sorry.
say, just like in the beginning when you were talking, Ciarán, about James, how James, walked you through and said he was going to guide you through it, how to do it. I just watched that in reverse.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
He's a better leader, I can tell you that. At least he picked the right key.
And we never rehearsed it, so there you go.
That was great. Thank you guys both. It was fabulous.
Thank you.
Right. Ciarán, what's next on your boat then? You're going to go do Phantom next? You're touring, or what else?
Yeah, for Phantoms, we're in Texas next week, and then we're in Pennsylvania. And then now there's chatter that we might be going to Ireland for a few weeks, which would be...
Well, you let me know, because I'll go with you to Ireland.
Come on, bye.
I'll go with you. See my relatives then.
And the donkey too.
And the donkey. Yeah, because I've been there. I have great friends there, and love to share it. I spend my birthdays over there a lot of times.
August 23rd.
Yeah. And Kelly, what's happening with you? You're still working with your stuff.
I'm still working. I've got a June event, June 20th to 23rd, the Roots of Healing with Dr. Shirley Pellizzari and Carrie Gonia, and we're going to be taking people on a healing journey. So please join us in person in Los Angeles, June 20th to 23rd.
Nice.
And I'll be in Maui in July if you want to come to a healing retreat, soul retreat we have 9 seats open or 8 seats open, and it's going to be healing the mind, body, and the spirit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. I know what you're doing in July, Kier, but you should probably go. So, thanks, everybody. Thanks, Kieran.
Thanks everybody.
So much.
It was great.
Thanks, Kelly.
Kieran.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Ryan. Okay.